You go ahead and hit record. You got your water bottle.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was getting water. But
It do take you like a year to fill up that big ass water bottle you got.
hey, I be trying to stay hydrated, brother.
God forbid you run into a slow drip faucet. You're just gonna be sitting up there for hours trying to fill your water bottle up.
I hate it.
Well, as Andre drinks his big ass water bottle, I would like to welcome y'all to episode 12 of the Natural Nonsense Podcast. It's your host, Andre 1K.
Uh,
And then myself, Kyler Nathan, and we here to talk about spooky season. Y'all get it's daylight savings time when we're recording this, so y'all flip your clocks back an hour. We gonna take y'all back a week to Halloween. So this is gonna be a Halloween spooky season kind of vibe of an episode. We don't care if it's already November.
nah, and I was just talking about this. Like, do people think that all the spookiness just stops once it's 12 a.m. October 31st and it's November 1st, and then suddenly all the spookiness, like all the ghouls and ghosts, just oh well, hey bro, you see what time it is? We gotta. It's over now. We
Hey
just
man, we clocked out. It's November. We out of here.
hey, we gotta go, man. You know our time up. Nah, that's not how it works. So
Uh, I'm not gonna jump over that little ghoul little noise you was making. That was pretty solid. Have you been practicing that?
you know, it's something I've been building up over time. You know what I'm saying? You gotta throw it in every now and then just to keep people honest. You know what I'm saying? But something in the bag of tricks. I try to bring out every now and then.
Something light. We love it. I think I'm gonna start doing these different backgrounds for the different themes of these episodes. For y'all's watching on YouTube or if you're checking out the video on Spotify, I got the Stranger Things background going because I've actually officially finished Stranger Things. I finally am
Oh
hip
wow!
to the Stranger Things lore. Finished it all. Love
Which
the
which
last
which?
couple seasons. Dang, I'm gonna get my Stranger Things hot take and get canceled on my own podcast.
Yeah, you might as well just let it rip.
So I'll be 100% honest. The first two seasons, up until like episode 5 or 6 of season 2 of Stranger Things, I thought all y'all was tripping. I was like, the show is trash.
Nah, that's about when I first stopped. When I first started watching, I'm not gonna hold you.
I was like, yo, like I understand nostalgia, 80s. These kids is funny a little bit. They cussing, ooh, kids cuss. Like I grew up with little kids that cuss. Like it wasn't that brand new to me.
Bro, on God, that's what I thought.
But the other thing, and this is kind of the screenwriter and me talking, my biggest problem with season one, and obviously this is spoilers for Stranger Things from here for the next like 45 seconds. So zoom ahead. I gotta throw in a spoiler warning just in case.
Yeah, I mean,
Um
but damn, if you ain't seen season one by now, shit. But go ahead.
as of 3 months ago,
You
I hadn't
didn't.
seen.
You didn't either. Sure.
Yeah. I didn't give a fuck about Will season one. Like he was the main premise of the whole first season. And it's like they only spent 10 minutes building his character. I'm like, yeah, I can't distinguish him from Mike at this point. He's just
That's
some
a,
random white boy that's
that's
missing.
valid. That's valid as hell.
And
Cause
so the whole first season, they was like, oh, we gotta find Will, we gotta find Will. I'm like, yeah, I'm not hooked. I don't like, yes,
look,
I
I'm
care.
like, do we? Seems like Will ran away, and that was that. Ooh.
Yeah. But I will say, like season three got me hooked. Season four got me hooked. I love most of the characters of Stranger Things. Will still like I care a little bit about Will, but I don't know. Like I wish the writers would have gave me a little bit more with Will, at least initially, because for him to be like the main objective of season one, I forgot what he looked like season three. I was like, oh, is that Will? I'm like, wait, is that Will?
Yeah, and then they growing up and stuff. So then they I'm like, oh dang, bro, they getting older from this season.
And Mike just lanky as hell.
Lanky as shit, boy. Man, get that dude a Big Mac.
Not a Big Mac.
But
Um,
I think that was good because they showed actual teenagers. Because in a lot of these shows, especially for us growing up, it was like they was trying to pass off this clearly 35-year-old man as a 15-year-old. Like, bro, there's no way he's 15. Like, I really like the casting, how they did that. Like, these look like some kids that's like they age and you know look like, oh yeah, they need to lift some weights or something. That's how kids look when they 14, 13, 15. Like, that's how kids look. They don't look like fucking Superman. Like, because they would always have that character in the TV shows, and they're like, oh yeah, he's so dreamy. Bruh clearly lists 225 at age 15, drives like a Camaro. I'm like, yo, who is bro? If this who is this? Like, is he supposed to be in school right now?
Yeah, like whose man's is this? Like, is this somebody dad?
Look, and the teachers over there slick on the side, like, oh, Johnny's so fun to have in class. Like, and it's like, what's going on here? Like, nobody was doing this in high school, but I think I think that's what really good with Stranger Things though.
Yeah, and I mean that's why I got to become a screenwriter so I could tell our stories. And because the other thing, and we not about to change this podcast to a whole movie TV show podcast. However, the one thing I will need to say, I kind of get tired of watching all these old movies in retrospect, and the baddie is always some white girl.
Obvious, bruh, and they be mid. It ain't even like the Angelina Jolie Jones or the like because when they dropped Megan Fox for the Transformers movies, I was like, all right, now y'all, the white girls y'all picking out now, they a little different, but for a cool 20, 30, 40, 50, well, it's since the movies came out, they all blended kind of in. Like, and they was kind of forcing it on you, like they're the hot girl. And then it would be some other girl, like the black girl in the movie. I'm like, dang, can't Chandra get a little more time? Can't Chandra get a little more screen time? She looking good. I mean, but they never they never would do it. I know I'm not alone in that. I know I'm not alone in that.
Hey, you are not, but we got to start this podcast. I love this introduction though. Like, man, we gonna have to bring back another movie episode because that's fun.
Yeah.
To get things going, we're gonna hit y'all with a couple of voice memos this time. Two future doctors. We got the hyphy doc back as well as Kenny motherfucking Jones. We're gonna get a couple voice memos cracking, starting with the hyphy doc, and let's see what they have to say.
Yo, in regards to the politics of the animal kingdom, I really liked the discussion that y'all were talking about when it comes to, individualism and, just that we're expected to accomplish and achieve all these things in life by ourselves. And while no one has ever done that, even in medicine, like I'm studying to, become a doctor, and doctors are often seen as like the the holy grail or the people that know everything, and you know but the reality is that I've seen is that doctors can't do nothing without a nurse actually taking care of the patient, so you can go see other patients and do charting and whatnot. Doctors can't do nothing without a pharmacist to give recommendations on the medications because we can't know all the medications. Doctors can't do nothing without the social support services, etc. So the admin to schedule patients and to room them. So we literally need people. We need community. We need village, and it's crazy to not think that.
That's real.
Bro, hyphy doc be bro, every time hyphy doc come on here, I'll be like, man, it's like he be unpeeling a different layer to the discussion, but I never thought of it like that. Like, but
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
true.
it goes back to distributed cognition too, because it's just like you look at a hospital, like it's a system. Like there's so many different people, so many different systems at play to get the one goal accomplished. Like if you think about the number of people you see, like before you get to the doctor, like each one of those people is like integral to that process for you getting the care that you need. And that's also why when you think of like education, it's important for folks to be well-rounded too. Cause like, yes, there's a bunch of people going to med school, but we gonna need people on all the spectrum of med school at all different levels, people familiar with multiculturalism, people familiar with the gender spectrum, like all these different things play a role in community care and care for a patient. So yeah, the hyphy doc hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, and I think the thing that he added in too was that okay, you can't do it by yourself. Because I think a lot of times, like we make it this option, like, oh, I'll just do it by myself. But like you functionally can't do it. Like you can't because dog, what if they insurance trash and then the doctor trying to come up with this super experiential surgery, but the insurance or whatever don't cover it? Like you gotta discuss that. You can't just start trying to do some stuff to somebody and then they not saying that they gonna wake up with a third leg or nothing, but just like they go, oh, thanks for solving that problem. But then they got $500,000 staring at them in the face after after the surgery. Like, so are they living after that?
Are they living after that? Man, that's the question of the day so far. But let's go ahead and hear what Kenny got to say. Whenever I see Kenny's name come up on these voice memos, and it's always like a very short audio clip, like this one's 13 seconds, and I know it's about to be an elite 13 seconds.
Good morning to Nat Nonsense. I hope y'all have an amazing day, an amazing session. Much love to y'all down in San Diego. Bye.
Hey, Kenny motherfucking Jones, he'll come in and tell you some shit now. Aye, Captain. My captain, my captain.
Oh, Captain, my Captain. He hit us with this is Kenny reporting live for the Sunday Smooth Jazz. Just want to say hello to Natural Nonsense. Like, all right, Kenny with the affirmations.
I know, right? It's like V101.9.
Reporting to you live from San Diego, California.
The Quiet Storm.
Oh, I love
That's
this
my dog,
podcast.
man. That's my dog, man.
Yeah, shout out to KMFJ up in the Bay. I did not mean for that to rhyme, but you know, we here.
It does rhyme.
Hey, put me on your next album. I got you.
Oh yeah, you gonna be on there.
It's
Trust me.
time. It is time.
It's overdue.
But let's go ahead and get into actual spooky season topics. We want to start with this icebreaker question. Very interested in hearing audience and listeners' responses to this one as well. So make sure after we have our discussion that you head over to our Anchor dashboard and leave us a voice memo with your thoughts. So this icebreaker, would you rather wake up to a zombie apocalypse or an invasion of 10-foot spiders? Andre, you have the mic.
Now, when I read this question, I went to every movie I've ever seen. Because I do research. Like people be watching movies and thinking like, "Oh, it's a cool movie." No, I'm over here taking notes. What did they do wrong? What did they mess up on? What type? And I done seen Walking Dead. I done seen uh, what's the other one? Dawn of the Dead. That's my favorite zombie movie. Dawn of the Dead. I've seen 28 Weeks Later. I've seen the one. I've seen zombies of all types. World War Z. All that. The thing about the 10-foot spiders, how there's the movie Eight-Legged Freaks, right? We've seen that. Like, okay. The thing about Eight-Legged Freaks, right? Spiders have a much bigger impact depending on how much bigger they get, right? The spiders we see, even the big ass spiders, you can contain that. You know what I'm saying? Because all their intellect and skills and what they're good at is confined to maybe like a quarter sized thing.
Yeah.
I'd much rather pick the zombie apocalypse. Not even close. Because the thing about 10-foot spiders, right? You got to think if they're laying webs everywhere, right? Because I don't know if people know this about spiders, but the web communicates to them. So when they setting up the web and they got the web like spread out and stuff, it'll know what's around it based off the vibrations off the web,
Yeah.
right? So if you got a 10-foot spider making webs, where are you gonna go to where this motherfucker ain't gonna find you? Now, the only thing I'll say about the 10-foot spiders is I'm not sure if we necessarily would be their prey. I think that's the part that kind of I'm not sure about because they're gonna go to some farm where there's cows and big, big stuff to eat. Like they might mess with us, but I mean, I don't know how much of us are like. Why would they hunt us specifically? That's the part where I'm a little iffy on. But nah, that web situation with the 10-foot spiders, I'm not down, bro. Cause our world would like very quickly be taken over by that. Like, and what are we gonna do? Clean? Have you tried to clean some spider webs, bro? Like just on in your
Yeah,
experience.
it is. It's not fun.
It's not fun, and it'll be kind of a little bit of spider webs, like a little corner or a little spot over here. And what do you like? Spider webs are, I think, pound for pound, the strongest natural material on Earth.
Yeah.
So you got to think now. This is in a again minute form with these little spiders. If you got a 10-foot spider with also the most indestructible kind of material on Earth, them webs is gonna be like steel cables on a bridge. So what are we really gonna like? I don't see a way through us figuring that out fast enough because also when they have eggs and reproduce, they're just gonna reproduce. The zombies ain't gonna reproduce. Like they, no matter what zombies you know we just kind of gotta. I mean, it's sad to say, we just kind of gotta kill them and then we good.
Yeah.
but like the spiders, we might get that one, but that one probably had 100 eggs somewhere. So how do we stop that? I just the zombie apocalypse. I think I'm pretty good. Main thing there, get your supplies right. You gotta get a group that wants to live. That's
Hmm.
very important because just having a group, no, I don't want just anybody. No, I don't care how close we are. If you don't actually want to live, you're not in the group because it be those people that like you'll see them like in Walking Dead or whatever. It's a melancholic way they go about it, or they don't want to prepare, or oh, why are we doing all this? No, I'm not explaining why we
We
need to
just gotta
run through.
go.
We just need to do it, nigga. Like, like they always be trying to discuss, and it's like, bro, there's literally a zombie apocalypse, bro. We need to throw away all of our old things and just go back to simple living and dying, eating food. And I think like if I made it back, to North Carolina or like I made it to somewhere in the South where, I could get some land, be out in the sticks somewhere, get a good fence, I'll be straight. I think I'll be straight for a minute with like, with the information and knowledge that I do have. The main concern is that with that is just running out of bullets, but the spiders, you also gotta be fast. Like they're also fast, right? So now you got a 10-foot spider that's fast as hell. How are you gonna shoot it? Like people are very confident in their shooting abilities based off of Call of Duty. Now let me tell you right now, life is not Call of Duty, people. You can't just quick scope the damn spider, bro. That's not gonna happen. You better you're gonna need to be a great marksman to actually shoot a spider. And the only thing that might be good is that it's big, but I'm picking the zombie apocalypse. Which one are you picking?
Before I pick, I just have to write down "Life is not Call of Duty." Just have to. I think that's a nice little bar for folks to remember. You cannot quick scope a spider. Words of advice from Natural Nonsense Podcast. Let's start with the zombie apocalypse. Because I think you started your answer with exactly what my train of thought went with this. There's a lot of zombie movies out there. And I think if you were to average like what went well in each of those zombie movies, you might have some type of plan of action that could work in theory. Very possible some zombies you ain't never seen before, but like, you know what? That just is what it is. Unfortunately, there are no Call of Duty ray guns in this life that I have access to.
Right.
Otherwise, I'd feel a lot more confident against the zombies if I had a ray gun, get the little mystery box, all that. Spiders. you mentioned like laying eggs, and just on average, the average spider, the female, like a female common house spider, if we just go on a basic spider, they deposit as many as 250 eggs into a single sac and produce up to 17 of these sacs during a lifetime, resulting in more than 4,000 eggs.
Yeah, bro, we're done, bro. Because our whole mission will be finding eggs, and you think they gonna let us kill the eggs? That would be the whole thing. If we kill the eggs, we could kill the spiders because they don't have a long lifespan. We're not killing all the egg sacs, bro.
We're not getting to the egg sacs because going back to the webs, like you mentioned, this material, they feel the vibrations and all that. There's just going to be webs just laying all over the place. Because even if we talk in 10-foot spiders in my neighborhood, that's a lot to deal with, in my opinion. I can't just wake up. Because the key part of this, would you rather wake up to a zombie apocalypse or an invasion of 10-foot spiders? An invasion is a hell of a lot of spiders. Like, that's a lot. Because let me wake up and I see a spider in the corner of my room, my day is kind of ruined. Like an invasion of 10-foot spiders, that's I'm not dealing with that. So I too agree that I'd much rather wake up to the zombie apocalypse. I've woken up to Call of Duty zombies in the background. I hear the zombies noise. That's kind of scarier than I think waking up to a zombie apocalypse would be compared to these 10-foot spiders. I'm just not dealing with, because I don't know if they sell raid for 10-foot spiders or none of that.
I mean, in theory, you just need like, probably.
Well, we need a spider, man.
I don't know. Has Spider-Man ever fought spiders? I'm not. I gotta get in my nerd bag. There's a villain that's like a. Nah, never mind. I don't know. I might be making that up, but I feel like there's like a anti Spider-Man villain or spider something that he had to fight at some point.
I'm sure in one of the like Venom storylines in the comic books, he had to have fought like some type of spider. It makes too. There's somebody who created a Spider-Man story where he fights spiders. There's too many Spider-Man comics across time.
Yeah, but we need like. I think the only thing that would help us is getting vertical with the spiders by, I mean, like helicopter situation. Um, we'd have to use a lot of technology. I don't know if I feel like they got a lot of this technology in, like Ukraine right now. All these laser guided missiles and stuff that they use on people that should probably not exist. Hey, that's a different podcast. But hey, I think we would need some type of laser guided system type thing from the US government, and then trust the US government to actually do it. That's where they lose me. That's where they lose me. Also, if we go to the ocean, we might do better off with the spiders because there's not too many spiders that can mess with water. So it's a thought.
But then we're in the ocean, and that goes back to a prior check-in question. We just at the ocean.
Yeah.
But nah, I think that thankfully I don't plan on dealing with 10-foot spiders in my lifetime. Zombie apocalypse, I don't know. I kind of feel 50-50 on that, but I don't think I'm gonna be dealing with no 10-foot spiders anytime soon.
Yeah, because again, like, would I rather wake up, right? Because honestly, if I saw a zombie apocalypse and it's them Walking Dead zombies, I'm good. I'm good, bro. I am not scared of Walking Dead zombies. The fact that they be getting murked by those is purely off of what I said. They didn't want to actually live. You going into the store, you got to look for some antiviral something or some antibiotics. Yo ass want to open a bag of crunchy ass chips right now? for real, dog? You ain't had chips in a long time, so you think that's cool to just crack it open right now? You didn't want to live, and that's okay, but you can't be in my group. I need people that know we're not gonna open a giant bag of Lay's. We'll be sneaking around. Oh my god.
I can already imagine. I gotta move on.
Yeah.
But let us know in comments, DMs, voice memos, what y'all think. Are y'all taking the zombies or the spiders? But regardless, if y'all dressed up as zombies, spiders for Halloween, a lot of folks listen to this podcast. I know y'all had some type of costume y'all dressed up as, and that's kind of the theme of this conversation today. We're talking about camouflaging, code switching, masks we wear, and all of that. Before we get started, did you dress up for Halloween this year?
I actually didn't, man.
You didn't.
I didn't, man. It just didn't work out. Didn't work out this year. Next year I'm going hard though.
Man, I can't wait to see the return of the sheeted ghost to Andre.
That's an all timer right there. I outdid myself that day. Amazing what you can do with $5 and some scissors. You don't need, man. But yeah, like, so on this topic of like camouflaging and code switching, I think like how it kind of goes into Halloween a little bit, or just like the time of why Halloween I think is successful, is that it's an opportunity for people to truly express something that they kind of always feel all the time, but it's not like the right setting or something. Um, and so like when I think about camouflaging and code switching, you kind of, when you dress up in costume, you kind of are doing that. Like, I don't know if you saw Diddy dress up as the Joker, but he was just in costume, and I love it. I believe in that. Like, don't dress up as nothing, and then you not gonna stay in character. Like,
Oh,
that
please. I hate that.
that's disgusting. Batman over here, ain't acting like Batman. Why did you dress up like Batman then? And or
Yeah.
it's a vampire over here being polite to people, and well, I mean, I guess that's kind of how vampires get down. But I mean, you gotta actually like, if you gonna dress up as Frankenstein, but you ain't gonna hit the little. Come on,
Yeah.
man.
Why your arms so loose if you Frankenstein? And I hate the friendly ass Batman. It's like, nah, you supposed to be in the corner just staring at people.
Oh
I'm
God.
vengeance.
You ain't supposed to have fun the whole night. People supposed to be passing you drinks. If you drink it, it's got to be like this. Like, you can't enjoy your drink. You Batman. You looking for somebody in here.
People dressed up as James Bond drinking like a margarita, like and just sitting in the corner, like, nah, you need some whiskey on the rocks or something.
You need a martini with a little olive on it and stuff. You gotta be,
Yeah.
you gotta be holding your, you gotta be, you gotta be standing. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be in the mix. But nah, I definitely I think about that a lot because I feel like people's personality comes out a lot on Halloween, and that's why I like Halloween, because it's like people really get to show who they actually are, because they're not trying to be like, I don't know what that is, like cool, I guess, or I don't know if that's what I'm trying to say, but I think like, I think it just shows like, okay, how can we have Halloween just a little more often? And you know, the first question we got, just like, when do you feel comfortable showing up authentically as you?
Yeah, I think it relates to what you said, because even this past year, I was like, do I want to go out on Halloween? I was like, no, I don't. That's not me. Like, and I think that's what I kind of observe a lot about Halloween is I think it gives people an opportunity to put on this persona, like something that's like artistic, like they have a mask, they have a costume on, and they have to go out, and it's like, yeah, no one knows who the third Superman is in the room. Like, they're just Superman tonight. Like, Superman turned up, and I feel like people get an extra confidence boost to get a little out of their comfort zone and show those like real raw parts of them that they might only show it's like their close friends or when they're at home by themselves. So I think as far as when I feel most comfortable showing up as authentically me, I think part of it is when I know there are people in the room or wherever I'm going that know the authentic version of me. Like, I don't feel like I have to explain every bit of behavior. Like, one of the things I like despise the absolute most, and I'm gonna try my best to get through this episode without throwing shade at any specific group of people or people. But I hate when I'm like at work in a room in a setting, and people like, dang, Kylie, you're quiet. Like, yeah, I am.
Yeah,
That's me.
yeah, I am. I'm quiet at work.
Yeah, like this is me being me. Oh, what's wrong? Nothing. And it's in those moments where people keep asking what's wrong when I'm quiet. I'm just like, man, I wish the homies was here. Cause if me and you just at like some meeting and I'm just quiet chilling, and people, Andre, what's wrong with Kyler? Oh, he chilling. I'm like, yeah, I'm authentically chilling.
Because a lot of people ain't chill. Like, I don't. That's a great thing you brought up. How many people actually are chill?
Not
Like, if
that
we,
many.
it's not that many. It's not.
It's not.
And the first thing somebody will do to describe themselves, oh, I'm a chill person. I don't be doing a lot. Be doing a lot.
Be doing the most.
Doing a whole lot. Like me, I think the thing, I really like what you said about like the audience and like who's around, like making it feel more comfortable. Because for me, like I know I do a lot. Like when I go to the club, I'm at the club. So I'm
Art.
turned up in this, I'm turned in here. But no, I'm not turned like I am at the club when it's, a couple homies and we passing a blunt. Like
Because you're not at the club.
I'm not at the club. And I think the part about like showing up authentically as you is standing in those, you know, those questions that we had to ourselves that we know are true. Like when you were saying, oh, I don't really go out on Halloween. That's authentically you. You know what I'm saying? So I think like what breeds that comfort is again that village mindset, having the right village around you to know that like even if we did have a party, like Kyler cool with just getting a plate and like
Chilling.
is some basketball on. Like that's kind of what Kyler trying to do. So there, you don't have to exclude people just because that's what they on. I think I tried to do a good job of that. Like even if I knew you wasn't trying to go to the function, like I try my best to be like, yo, like what are you doing tonight? Like you still can have plans. You can still
Yeah.
have things that you want to, get done or things you want to do. I would still ask because shit, like maybe I need to be mindful of that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because, sometimes, I'm just trying to chill tonight. Like, so after this party, probably don't need to make my spot the kick it spot after. Maybe I need to just go in my room and go to sleep after, right? But I think
I
that's just
appreciate
like
that.
it's just like kind of a part of what you know, what that feel like feeling comfort like comes up as. And I think for me, it's that village, just having the people around where you don't have to guess, you don't have to pry, you don't have to like do all that. Um, and standing in what we actually feel, like what we actually want to feel, um, and just leaning into that. Cause that's something I've been trying to work on, honestly, is like sometimes I get too rational in my emotions or too like I try to think through my emotions and then
Mm.
bring rationalization to them or bring like some type of logic to them and then I'll decide how I feel, if that makes sense, after some time after I thought about it. But I think something for myself is just leaning more into like when this happened, what did I feel immediately, and then like that's what I felt. I don't have to like go back and like legitimize my emotions or legitimize how I felt about it. Like that's my authentic self because that's what I felt like. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's just something like, and I hope everybody that listens to Natural Nonsense, like me and Kyler, is not up here trying to be like the spokespeople of perfection or something. Or when we
Oh, please
share,
don't think I'm perfect.
when we sharing stuff that we learned or we thought about, it's probably a painful lesson or it's probably something we fucked up on before, and that's something that I definitely have just be messing up on. And um but yeah.
Yeah, I think part of what you mentioned about like just owning that authentic complex feeling, I think that's where another place where I feel very comfortable showing up as authentically as me as I feel fit is like an open mic or like a poetry scene. Because as a poet, as someone who's written poetry and performed poetry, I feel authentically myself when I'm around people who just letting it all out on the table. Like, this is how I feel. Like, this is a very fucked up thing that happened to me. This is a poem about it. And I'm here, like, sharing my journey, sharing my pain, sharing my emotion with y'all in effort to connect with y'all. And that's how I feel when I'm on the mic for a podcast, when I'm on the mic performing poetry, when I'm listening to music. It's like, yeah, like I really appreciate being around people or in environments that have like true, authentic emotion. Because one of the things that I'm not going to say I dislike it, but to an extent, I do dislike it. And I see this a lot with like students I'm working with sometimes. I'll be like at the center, a student comes in, I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm like, I feel you. Like, if you got to be good right now, I feel you. But for the people that I care about and that I've built relationships with, I really like, I'm pushing them, or I want to push them to be like, nah, like, you can say that I don't want to talk about it. Can we talk about it later? But you don't have to tell me that you're good if you're not good. And those are the environments I feel really comfortable in, because it's like, cool, like, you're authentically letting me know, like, yeah, I'm having a terrible day. Noted. Do you want to talk about it? Yeah or no? Like, we can figure that out. But I just really enjoy meeting people where they're at, but also connecting with them on where they want to be, where they've come from, because I think all of that is very important to being able to get to know the true essence of people and who they are, and not in a way where you're like trauma bonding or like dumping on somebody like all of your things that you're thinking about going through, but just really being able to have those authentic conversations and bring it below the surface level of, oh, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Like, I don't trust people when every time I ask them how they're doing, they good. Not that they can't be good the whole time, but like they ain't no nuance to that. Like, what's up?
Yeah, but like you saying too, how do you build trust or mutual trust if you good all the time? Because how, bro? It's 2022. How are you good all the time? How? I think people that are good all the time, personally, there's some insanity there. You gotta be a little insane to live in 2022 and be like, oh yeah, every day is good. Like, whoa. And it's like you saying, like, it's not about like, hey, you got to tell me the whole thing, or you got to, just spill it all out right now. Cause, we are in capitalism, and you do got, I get it. You got to get through it, and you got to go to work, got to pay bills. But that thing that you guys said, just about like, yo, like, maybe we can talk about it later. I'm not trying to talk about it right now. Those are all valid responses that take just amount of much time as saying I'm good.
Yeah, because it's just also it's the energy. It's like, all right, like if you good, like cool, I want you to be good, but like at the same time, you ain't about to be in here like bringing all this negative down energy in my office talking about you good. Like we gonna have to unpack some of this. But once again, like meeting people where they're at too, because like you mentioned with capitalism, sometimes you got to be good in that moment. I just want to make sure, especially people that I'm in a position to support, I want to make sure their support is somewhere. So I think that's why I just like it more when it's like students I'm working with or like my close friends, because it's like, nah, like this is what this is about. Like let's figure this out.
Yeah, like, cause I know, like, we were supposed to kick it recently, and I was just like, bro, I can't do it. I ain't got it in me. I ain't got it in me. But I think a lot of times it's me learning, like, I don't have to do nothing. Like, I can
Yeah.
just be real and just be like, nah, no, this ain't it. Cause I think for a long time in my years of life, I've just been like, nope, you said you're gonna do it, so you gotta do it, and that's that. And you gotta show it, like, and I think I'm like, do I?
Nah.
Like, and so I'm just been trying to definitely work on that end too. Um, but yeah, like going into the next part of this, like when it comes to, the camouflaging part, like what are the masks that you wear? If you have any masks, what are they? What are they? And then what is the setting of wearing the mask?
I wrote this question. I put this as a conversation topic, and I don't know that I fully like have come to an answer about it. I think I'm at a point in my life where I'm so conscious of masks that I don't know what my masks are, but I will say that um I think being someone who is very introspective and reflective, I think that I'm conscious of when I'm actively not answering something or actively not participating in something like, and that's where it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe that's where I get like the Batman aesthetic from in the nicknames, because it's like sometimes I'm quiet because I have nothing to say, and sometimes I'm quiet very intentionally, have a lot to say. So I feel like the quietness and the more reservedness is sometimes a mask, but it's like it's still part of my face. Maybe I'm like Harvey Two-Face in here, and it's like a half mask, half face type of thing, because it's like, yeah, like I am quiet, but at the same time, some of that quiet can be a mask to where it's like, yeah, like I'm not trying to open up this Pandora's box in this exact moment. So I'm gonna keep it cool, calm, and collected right now. So I think that's definitely one. Um, yeah, and I also think that I can mask a lot of anger sometimes in being quiet too. But once again, I think that, and this will probably get into the next topic a little bit more, so I'll save some of it, but just learning and unlearning so much about masculinity in college and how like portraying emotions, portraying anger, and just all of that kind of bottled up into one. Sometimes I'd be pissed the hell off, but I'm like, I'm better than this today. I need to relax. I need to figure out exactly what I'm trying to say, exactly what I'm mad at, unpack that, and then vocalize it. Like I can't unscrew the Coke bottle after shaking it up too much, if that makes sense.
Nah, that definitely makes sense, and it makes sense knowing you. Like when you said maybe I'm more like Harvey Two Face, I was like, because it's like, because the thing about the Two Face thing is like once that happened, and then everybody sees him, like you know what I'm saying. So like it wasn't just because of his personality. It was like, nah, bro, really got two whole different fits on. Two
Yeah,
like he had the split suits and stuff.
wild wardrobe.
I was mad that they didn't bring out the drip more when they brought out Harvey for
The
the
Dark Knight.
Batman. Yeah, like bro, y'all should have let him put that shit on. Like he
Let him
was,
cook.
yeah. But nah, I definitely see what you're saying. Like opening that Pandora's box, like at the right moment. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's the thing about Pandora's boxes is like it tends to be something that like, okay, is there ever gonna be a good time to open this Pandora's box? So then I think that's something that I'll be thinking about too. Like, what is the good time I'm supposedly
Yeah,
waiting for? You know what I'm saying? So um I would say the mask that I wear for sure is like I mask a lot of sadness. Like I
Mhm.
be sad as fuck. Like, and
That's
I
real.
think I'm just coming to grips with it. You know what I'm saying? Because people be asking me like, what's wrong or like how's things going and stuff. And I realize like, I'm just sad. I'm really sad in a lot of different ways. And like we saying in this next topic too, like I don't have a functioning, like I kind of have a functioning mechanism to deal with sadness, but that first thing that I do is go by myself, or I shut down. I go alone. I do all of it by myself because I don't know how to do sadness with other people. Every other emotion, I feel like it kind of you can. I have a game plan of how to discuss it or say it with another person, but how do you talk about the fact that I am sad? Like I'm not sad at a person. Like usually you can say like I'm mad at somebody, or if you're jealous of someone,
Hmm.
or you irritated at somebody, like something. But sadness is just kind of like I'm just like I'm sad, nigga. Like, and
That's
I
real.
think I just put that mask on a lot because for one, I know the mass populace of people in the world, especially in the Western world, we aren't equipped to deal with sadness as a group. Or like, when people come to me and they're sad, like it's bad, but something that I always do is say like, well, what do you need, right? And I'm just like taking a step back and reflecting recently, and I'm just like, damn, like how important is that question versus like just like having them expand more, or like you want to talk about it more, or I don't know. Like I'm still working on my toolkit of like when somebody's sad, how do you help them? Because I don't know how to help myself when I'm sad. So how am I supposed to be? I'm supposed to be like, trying to help other people when they sad. But I think the main thing that I'm realizing is like really trying to be present with like just what's the current emotion, like just letting them talk, or just like, yeah, that sucks, like just validating, um and then like kind of maybe saving that question for like after we've done the validation, or like just after that point, and then being like, all right, you feeling sad, like you trying to go get some food, or like you trying to, I guess, trying to do it like that. But I think for me, for sure, like sadness is a mask that I be trying to mask a lot. I be masking that, like, because I just don't be, honestly, I just don't know where to go with that. Like, because I think even when you scared or you fearful, you're fearful of something.
Right.
Like you scared of something. Like sadness is just like, I think it's just like, dog, look what's happening. Look what's going on. I think maybe sadness is more of a realization of the past, maybe, or current affairs, maybe, so that it's a lot harder to move through something that makes you sad, because it's like it already done happened and it's dead. It's not gonna, like, it's not going, it's not what do you call it, like dynamic. I would say sadness isn't too dynamic. It's just like a heavy dullness.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think I just bring it back to poetry too. I think that's what first drew me to poetry, and maybe it's even stuff that has come up in some of your music and stuff you've written in the past. Because like you said, with sadness, I think like sometimes, of course, you can attribute being sad because of somebody or because of something, of course. But I think that when you talk about like that realization of present circumstances, or like understanding more of the past, you really start to think that there's no simple way to describe that emotion, like sadness. And all emotions are very complex emotions, but when you think about, like, if I were to ask you like, what are you sad about right now, your initial thought might be like, well, shit, like.
I'm
And
like,
then
you want the 400-year sadness, or just
yeah,
the current
exactly.
year sadness?
And that's what it comes down to. It's like, all right, like, how far are we unpacking this right now? And that's where I think poetry has really helped me, because for a moment I can pick a part of an emotion that I'm thinking about. Like if I'm sad because of this specific thing that happened, I can really spend time like building that concept out. Like, and that's sort of like building out metaphors and stuff that I talk about when I teach people how to like make their poetry a little deeper. It's like, all right, like when you say you're sad as fuck, like, all right, how much is as fuck? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, how sad are we? Or what are the things? What would you like to say to this person? How did this really make you feel in the moment? Like, did heartbreak feel like someone just kind of chopped your heart in half, or did it like shatter like glass? Like, that's like all built into those poems and whatnot. And I think that it's just really important for us to be able, like you said, kind of developing those toolkits. Like, like you get your first like set of tools and you move into your first apartment. When you get a house, you're gonna need more than just that little 99-cent store screwdriver. You're gonna need like some upgraded tools. You might want to get like a real fancy drill or something. I think when it comes to discussing emotions, talking about emotions, I think the more we're able to reflect, talk about, and help each other build through emotions, it gives us better tools for ourselves as well as for other people. Because, I mean, saying all of that you just said right now, I would ask, do you feel like you can process your sadness a lot better today than you would have when I met you in 2013?
Oh,
Like,
for
it's
sure. For sure. My goodness, how far I've come, but how far I still have to go.
and that's the duality of life. And I think just realizing that in itself, I think, is a very healthy thing for us to be able to affirm too. Because I think sometimes I get too caught up in like, oh, like, am I processing this right? Am I really unpacking this? Like, and sometimes like I look myself in the mirror like, all right, dog, like you ain't, going back to lack of perfection. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm not supposed to unpack this perfectly by myself. I'm not supposed to be fixed after one session, like with a therapist, or after one like counseling with a friend or whatever it might be. Like, life, emotions, processing all that. It's an ongoing thing. And I think the more that we recognize the masks that we wear, the more that we think about the coping mechanisms, and the more that we're honest with each other, I think it just builds for like better connection. And it goes back to that, like, challenging people to go beyond, especially like your close friends. Like if you're close friends with somebody, I think you should always be able to tell them, like, not maybe exactly how you feel, but you should be able to give them an honest window into how you feel.
Because again, it goes back to what you're saying about building trust. Like, you know, even on a larger sense, like when they had all the monopolies and shit with the different businesses. I mean, well, why I don't know why I said that in the past tense. Uh, my bad. My political science brain just kind of glitched just now. But anyway, in the past, like when they had like the robber barons and like the oil industry, and it was like Standard Oil and like it was real, like I guess more obvious monopolies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the only way they worked was also off of trust. They had to trust that the other people was going to exploit properly too. But I said that to say that even on these, the most successful, most, rich, all of these things that, in our society, I don't necessarily ascribe to, but show success in this society requires that vulnerability. Even these people that's got all this so-called power and stuff, they have to be vulnerable enough to trust they fellow exploiters to keep on exploiting. And I think if that's the level that even on the highest rings that's what they on, it's probably beneficial for us to do that on an interpersonal level with each other to build trust. Like, and building it in a lateral way to where nobody chain bigger than nobody else chain, but like we really working on something, and it makes it easier to overcome fear. It makes it easier to overcome those different things when there are that trust factor that's there.
No, absolutely. And I think when we talk about trust, I think that's a good transition to talk about kind of these last two, starting with like fear and identity. I'll put it widely. Like I wrote on here, fear as a black man, because like I identify as a black man. But when I think about like socializations, like stereotypes and all of that, and just how we can spend 10,000 hours talking about like stereotypes of black men and socializations and whatnot. But when I think about building trust, I think that was what was really important and powerful throughout the college learning and unlearning experience, was that I met so many people that I got to know on a deeper level, and I built a trust with them to where I know that it's safe to talk about like authentic feelings, talk about what we're learning, talk about what we're unlearning, because you're exposed to so much in college just in general. When you're going to an institution where a lot of people don't look like you, they're like, I can count on not that many hands how many different black men I would see on a daily basis on that campus. And so just being able to build trust with like you as a prime example. I mean, we on this podcast together, but when we would go back to the crib after a BSU meeting and really like sit down, like let's talk about what happened. But like let's talk about what happened. Like let's really talk about what happened. And we go on the full spectrum, and it's like, yeah, you and I have built this trust to where like this is going to be a messy conversation. Maybe I might say some shit that 10 minutes later I'm gonna be like, I probably shouldn't have said that. I might reflect on something differently. I might leave this conversation validated, like, nah, that was some bullshit. But I think having those conversations where it's a trusting, affirming space, you can really start to figure out like what these complex emotions, what does fear look like, what does sadness look like, and figure out what mask you had on throughout that day, because you're in a trusted, comfortable environment where you can take the mask off for a second and just really talk about what you've been observing and what you've been feeling.
For sure. And you know, I think it I think it goes back to, like what you said, just unlearning too. You know what I'm saying? Cause like it took a lot of unlearning to get to that point to even do that. Cause shoot, when some stuff would happen or whatever, like it would be almost like, man, I'm glad that's over. You trying to play the game? trying to go hoop, trying to go, trying to go to this party, trying to go to this like it was just a natural thing to escape those types of things and not really give it no space. But that's where I grew in that and learning that like, maybe it is good to give 20 minutes to this. You know what I'm saying? Because I think also like hours and hours, maybe not, but you can give 20 minutes to this topic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, for sure. Like I think it just takes a lot of, like you said, just that unlearning and just saying like, okay, what did I learn how to handle this? But what did I learn to apply this? And the application has to happen on your interpersonal. Like people virtue signal a lot. And if folks don't know what that means, virtue signaling is basically like where you give off the appearance that you're saying the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, I'm not going to get into that, that gigantic Pandora's box of Kyrie Irving.
Oh
But
God.
the one thing I will say is that like the virtue signaling around it is really gross. How people are like talking about it, because it's like, man, you ain't read nothing about this. You ain't said nothing about this your whole career, but suddenly this the right thing to say. I'm just like, it's a little weird. But I think that's again the difference between actually reading about something and actually, because these little talking heads will straight up say, I have a lot to learn myself, or blah, 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 or I talk to my Jewish friends. Somebody had said that on there. And I'm like, that's gross. That's gross. Let somebody have some black stuff. Oh, I talk to my black friends. We ain't friends, dog. After that, what? I was your confirmation source? You didn't go read, bro? Huh? That's where that little loop kind of throws me for a loop, because I'm like, and I'm not on Kyrie's side, but I'm like, he was looking for the knowledge. I mean, he's gonna form his own thought. And it's not to say that, because what he was talking about don't make no sense, but I'm just saying, like, if we're gonna actually talk about the person who was trying to learn something, it wasn't y'all. Like,
Right.
so, but I think that's, again, like, it's about that application, man. How do you apply it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I'll say about like specific with regards to identity too, I think that that's where I feel like I've done a lot of growth and want to continue to grow in, is really being intentional about thinking like, okay, like what is it that I'm feeling because of my individual experiences as a Black man? Like when we look at like, and I definitely don't want to go too far into this rabbit hole, but when we look at June 2020, like with all the protests and like everybody hyper visible on like stuff that's been happening for decades and years and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, like that was a very scary time to be a Black man. It just felt like I was just scared. Like the pandemic is happening, like everyone's talking about police brutality all of a sudden, like it's just the newest thing out there. People are reposting these videos for some reason. And it's like, yeah, like I just feel uncomfortable every time I'm outside of the four walls of my house. And being able to say that and not feel bad about like, oh, I'm making this about me and whatnot, because I think there is a right time to really like check your privileges and talk about like, oh well, you're saying this as a man, blah blah blah. And it's like, yes, like there are times for that, but I also want to make sure that I continue to give myself grace and room to be able to talk about my experiences as a Black man within the right setting. And I said that with a lot of words because I want to be very specific about like there are times when people bring up like, oh well, as a Black man, it's like, yeah, nigga, shut up. Like
Nah, for real.
this ain't the time for that.
And this ain't one of them podcasts.
No, it is not.
But I definitely feel you on that, because, it's very important to be specific, because I think the thing that, people never really read Kimberly Crenshaw, in my opinion, my personal opinion. I don't think people really read what Kimberly Crenshaw actually wrote about intersectionality. And the main piece that comes from that is like, okay, this isn't like uh, uh, a static like badges on 2K, like where oh, they got the gold oppressor badge, so you know they really be oppressed, and then this person got the silver ain't shit badge, so then that means that you know their oppression is a little bit. That's not what intersectionality is. Like what it is looking at a total person and seeing the dynamics of their identity. How is it dynamic? And what happens in certain settings, right? Because I think the thing that I definitely wholeheartedly agree with you on is just that fear. Because when what happened to Ahmaud Arbery happened, that deeply kind of shook me to my core on some real like, dog, we turned back the clock on some stuff because it wasn't a mystery. That's what kind of made it made me really, because bro was going out on a run. They just didn't think he needed to be running in around them parts, and they killed him with impunity. And everyone knew, and then it took social media or for people to learn about it for the arrest to happen. And it just that's the that's that shit where it's just like, man, I be jogging all the time. And I'm not in the, and people will say like, oh, that happened over there. That's not gonna happen where you at. Says who? Says who? Everything south of Canada is the South. You trying to tell people that Malcolm X said that everything south of the Canadian border is the South, dog. This if people start to feel too, oh, that's only gonna happen in, that was in the South, so that's where all that type of stuff happened at, and then something happened in LA where the dude had an arsenal neo-Nazi dude that they found in some building or something. Oh, some guy, and I'm like, bruh, that was in the middle of, bruh, y'all, what? And I think a part of it is, the courage it takes to speak on it. Because I think you showed a lot of courage in just speaking on that. Because it's like there's not an. I don't think I've seen enough of us be courageous about like, dog, that's terrifying. And it's not terrifying as to what'll happen to me, what that'll do to my family, man. What that'll do to the people that love me and the people around me. That's what I'll be thinking about. Like individually, like it's not that I hold this ever present fear, but it's just like the fear of like how this will impact and reverberate throughout my whole like family and everybody that I love. Like that's what sucks about it. Like, cause it's not I'm sure for everybody that goes through these situations, and even in George Floyd's situation, like one of the last things he said out of his mouth is like he was on his mom. You know what I'm saying? And I think that goes back to how we is socializing everything, but it's like it goes back to like, bro, we humans. Like we have a want to make sure that our people good. And we know that a premature death for a black man, it does a lot to a family. Like people don't be looking at that. Like, yeah, George Floyd was on TV. So I think there were certain obstacles that maybe aren't there in terms of like, services and like funeral and like, oh, celebrities shipped in and stuff. And I'm not saying that like is, better or worse, but what I am saying is that that's not the norm for when a black man dies. The norm is not that the community comes around and everybody comes together and like, puts up the money and do all that's just not been in my reality of what's been happening. It's usually like that person's individual family scraping together, doing car washes, doing whatever it is to try to, make it happen. And I think that's what kind of June 2020 did. It like exceptionalized these, couple instances, and then what was happening in Minnesota too, and Milwaukee and all that, like where they had a bunch of stuff going on too, like Minneapolis, like it was like, oh, these are the exceptions, but I was seeing like there were a lot of black people dying in between all of this stuff that didn't get all that, and a lot of them were black trans women, a lot of them were black disabled folks, a lot of them were people that from the bigger parts of society they'll say, oh well, they kind of deserve it, so we don't need to give them the spotlight. And I think that's just what gets gross about this stuff sometimes, and it makes it really challenging to process.
Absolutely. I think that was wonderfully stated. Want everybody listening to this and for us to just take a little moment, get a little breath in, drink some water if you need to. Not that like, I don't know, I don't like situations where people like, oh, that was a lot, let's all take a step back. Like, yes, I think taking a step back is important, but I also think talking about life the way it is also important. And I don't want to like just shift to a whole nother, all right, let's talk about this fun thing now, without just giving that room to breathe.
Yeah, I added that in. It's like even to like at work when we have meetings, we do like a moment of silence where we just take a second and just take some breaths before the meeting start. It's like 30 seconds, maybe a minute. We're gonna talk about a lot of shit for an hour, so we can take about 45 seconds to a minute to breathe.
Yeah, breathing is very important. The last thing that we wanted to discuss though for this episode before we get into cool beans is imposter syndrome. I think that we've talked about like code switching, we talked about camouflaging and showing up in spaces, the mask that we have on. I also want to discuss the very reality of the situation when you walk into a place where ain't nobody really got their costume on, but you still feel like you like in some type of ghost costume or something. Because I honestly can say that's what it feels like walking into a lecture hall. Sometimes you just see a bunch of people who look like they got a different invitation to the Halloween party. Like they said, show up in costume, and you're the only person to show up in costume. And I think that the way I want to end this episode is talking about what does that mean? Like, what does it mean when you feel like you don't belong in a place, or you walk to a place and no one looks like you? Like, how do we combat that imposter syndrome, which of course could be his whole episode, but I think just giving like a couple nuggets here and there about imposter syndrome can be very important. And what I wanted to share first is that because I think we always have this conversation about like the power of being like the first or the only in the room and having a seat at the table and whatnot. And I think that sometimes that can get very glorified, where it's like, oh, well, you're the only black person in the room. I'm like, yeah, this is a problem. It's 200 people in here. Like, yeah, whoa, I'm the only black person here, but like, can we talk about it?
I was in one of my poli sci classes, and we were talking about race and politics. Now, this professor had a degree from Yale and Harvard. So if you was to write down, this person probably knows what they're talking about, probably would be the person with the degree from Yale and Harvard, right? This man posed the question, is racism existing today? Like almost like as like a like and I raised my hand, bro. Because we was talking about all these statistics and like, oh, race and like, oh, like, things are better. Like we was having all these discussions. I raised my hand. I didn't even address the professor. I just raised my hand. I turned around because I was in the lecture hall. It was about 250 people. I was like, everybody, classroom, raise your hand if you're black. I just want to get a quick. I want to get a quick just synopsis since we just questioning whether race is. We just over here questioning, right? Today in this classroom with 200 something people in it, how many of y'all are black? A total of 3 people raised their hands. Now,
it's a shame that I'm shocked that it was 3.
Hey, but that's why I asked. I couldn't just, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't just, but so if we doing the percentages, right? And then I asked the class, I was like, what's the percentage of Black people that are in the state of California? Because again, I'm not gonna do this thing with y'all where y'all try to act like I'm this need to be an HBCU or something. No, y'all be doing too much. No, we can't even get 6% in this lecture hall talking about race and politics. And then I asked, what's the population of prisons in the state of California? And what is that percentage? How could it be possible that 40% of prisons are made up of Black people, but in this here classroom, we only got about 3 of us in here? And then I sat down. I sat back down. I'll just let them marinate on that whether or not racism was here question, because it's like, whether we think it is or not, we here. And what you're talking about just leads to, when it comes to that imposter syndrome, because it's just like, yeah, y'all saying y'all support and stuff, but I think more support would be more Black people being in this race and politics class. Why is it me? And then 3 other people out of 250. That is a problem. And I think another thing that I learned when it came to imposter syndrome is how much of that is, are you an imposter, or does this shit just not fit? And this
Yeah.
shit, how much of it is that you have a different moral compass, and how much of it that, I'm a person that don't get jiggy with white supremacy, so I don't fit into the white supremacist mold of how to go about professionalism, or I don't adhere to whiteness. I don't adhere to those things. So how much of it is that versus being an imposter? Like, how much of it is my environment not actually shaping my experience to be a positive experience? Like, why is that all on me? Like, even when you go to a party, right? And the thing that I've noticed a lot about when I've went out recently is that the DJs don't take no responsibility for the vibe. They take no responsibility. They just sitting there playing songs. The DJ is supposed to set the vibe to where nobody in that room feel like they not having a good time. And the DJs that we have in these systemic places and in these places at the table, fuck the table. I was in one of the meetings and they was like, oh well, we can just invite, seat at the table. I was like, why the table exists and it ain't enough chairs? Flip,
Why are people standing at this table?
Why is this table in a room with the doors? And where is this table at? Why
ain't no food on the table?
Why ain't no food on the table? Why ain't we actually talking about nothing serious at this table? Y'all asking about my favorite snacks. Bro, racism is alive and well. Let's do something about it. I'm not trying to
Table
be at this
wobbly as hell.
table wobbly. Ain't even a table that, the table was built by slaves. Let's talk about it. Table built by enslaved people, and you want me to beg for a seat? Y'all can kiss my. I said in the most professional way, y'all can kiss my Black ass. Because I think that's the side to imposter syndrome that I think like definitely looks different when it's like, oh, you're in white spaces versus Black spaces. Because there are times that I felt like an imposter around Black people, but it was when I moved, like when I came to California, bro, it took me a cool minute to just because I was just like, I don't know what y'all on.
And we didn't know what she was on either. Don't worry.
Like I came here, bro. The main thing that I noticed about California, like when I talked to Black people, was like the immense like sensitivity to what was being said or what was going on, and like how quickly something could just become about a whole neighborhood of people suddenly. Like you telling everybody what streets you live on or what streets you from. because bruh said you was ass on the court, and you were ass. You were. We saw it. And I'm like, damn, like we're taking it here. Like, because you ass on the court. Yeah, I'm an imposter, bro. I need to understand what's going on right now, because I do not fit this. Not one bit. Because I'm like, man, you lucky they didn't say what people really would be thinking. Like, so I think that's something else. But I think I would rather work through how I feel like an imposter around other Black folks, around other African folks, and because I think that'll bring me to a different closeness than it does. Okay, how am I an imposter in white spaces? Does that make sense?
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think that there's nuance to community. Of course, I'm not even gonna hold you. I get tired of the phrase "blackness is not a monolith," which, because it's not a monolith, but like I just feel like I hear that so much working at UCSD and EDI and whatnot. But it's very true. Like, blackness is diaspora, and so there are so many different facets to what makes up a Black person and where they come from, who they grew up around, what information they've been exposed to. So I think it's definitely valid. And yeah, I mean, I think coming to UC San Diego in La Jolla, California, I felt like an imposter too. I was like, I'm from California, but I ain't from this part of California, if you feel me.
Nah. And then also, none of the Black people I met was around. Like, I think that was something that was strange about where we went to school too. Is like there were no Black people there that also were from La Jolla or like around the campus. Like, so it was even harder to get it, because usually
Yeah, there's a
there's
guide
like
or something.
there's like a guide, or there's like a person like, I know the spot. You know what I'm saying? I know the little spot. I know the little hidden
Nobody knew the
spot.
spot.
Nobody knew the spot. Everybody was just searching for the spot, trying to figure out like, wait, you tried that out? How did it go? How did it go? Like, everything is a research project trying to figure out like what's the actual vibes of how
Like,
to
hey, they
do.
tried that restaurant. They tried that. Like, oh, was it good? What did they have? Was it seasoned?
Were they followed out with pitchforks? No. Oh, okay, I might go over there one day. So,
Man,
nah, I definitely feel you on that. Like, it's the setting. It's like, okay, is this a setting that is conducive to me learning about it? And what is here that I did need to see? Like, I think the things about it is just, for one, the damn ocean and the beach. Like, all this other stuff, man, that is a gorgeous beach. So let me lean into that and take up space here. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a part of the imposter syndrome too, is like not having a secure feeling of where it's okay to take up space, because when I'm around my people, like I just take up where I see fit, 10 toes down. What 21 Savage say? We we always stepping and not giving a damn where our feet land at. That's that's what it is when you around your folks and around your people. You don't really think too much about all that because you able to just be and be authentic.
absolutely. I think that's a perfect way to kind of close out that segment. Um, we've been cooking this episode. I think we about at like an hour and a half. So y'all got some bonus content. There's a lot for us to parse through. I hope y'all leave us some voice memos, some comments on some of the stuff that we be posting on social media. But to close things out, first, want to do our cool beans segment. And luckily, I get to be the cool bean today. So the plug that I'm giving is a very shameless plug. New podcast coming to the feed. It's actually dropping the same exact day this episode is dropping. So want to make sure that y'all check out the Banquet Hall. You can follow it on Twitter and Instagram at Banquet Hall Pod. And this podcast is kind of aligned with imposter syndrome, a seat at the table, all that. The thought is, and shout out to Ariacella for the help coming up with the name, but I know a lot of people doing really cool stuff that are tired of looking for a seat at the table. They're tired of building their own table. So we built our own little banquet hall. We come into the table, we come into the mic, we chopping it up on people's journeys, sharing stories about how people got to where they are and where they're trying to go. Because I think and the idea from it really honestly stemmed a lot from this past couple months on social media. I'm tired of hearing what Kanye said. I'm tired of hearing what Kyrie
Yes.
said.
What did Ariel Seller say? What did
What
Ashley say? What did Kyler say?
Exactly. Like I know the bright minds. I don't care what Kanye said. I don't know what Kanye had on. So today
I
when you
don't. We
listen,
don't know this thing. Like, I get you, bro. I'm sorry for interrupting your. I know you getting your
you
shit off,
good?
but that just touched me in a different way because you're right. Like, we actually
Nah,
know people that we could actually talk to about their actual thoughts. I don't know these niggas.
exactly. And that's why when people this past couple weeks, oh, did you hear what Kanye said? No, I didn't. I did not hear it. And so the Banquet Hall podcast is coming to bring you some of those stories. Episode 1 drops Monday, November 7th. I'm chopping it up for a little under an hour with Jada from Black Beauty Near You. And I got a lot of dope people in my life, and I want y'all to hear their stories. So make sure y'all tune into the Banquet Hall and follow up on social media.
Yeah, man. Follow up with Banquet with Hall, man. Gonna be some good stuff coming from there because yeah, bro. Like we gotta shift that paradigm of like celebrities having a chokehold on the discussions. I don't care what they think, bro. They can just go somewhere and shut up. I can't. Like, bro, imagine having the money to go to Bora Bora and you on Twitter. That makes that's insane to me. That is insane to me.
It could be a whole nother episode. I'm not even gonna comment on it, but yes to that. So but that wraps up this episode of the Natural Nonsense Podcast. Like I said, we covered a lot today, and I hope to hear some of y'all's thoughts on it. And even if you don't have no thoughts on it, at least hit the share button, hit the like button, hit the retweet button, hit the 5-star rating button. There's a lot of buttons to your arsenal, and I encourage y'all to hit all of those buttons just because it helps grow the podcast network. There's a bunch of people in this world. A lot of them can hear about code switching and imposter syndrome, or just start the conversation. Just like, hey, I was listening to this podcast. They brought up this. I want to hear your thoughts. Just really want to get a community going with natural nonsense. And the faithful listeners that we have so far, we really appreciate y'all. For new listeners, make sure y'all check us out on social media at Nat Nonsense Pod. And we will catch y'all next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all. See y'all next time.